Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I'm one of your guest co-hosts. I'm one of the co-hosts. I'm not a guest co-host. What am I talking about? I'm Ozma in the Dark. I go by pronouns she, they, and it's I don't know. My brain is all over the place, but that's not new. I'll introduce the other co-host. Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. He, him pronouns.
And finally, our guest, Kelly. How are you
Hi.
doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I'm Kelly Wobbegong. She, her, hers, please. And yeah, no, uh, this should be fun. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
So, let's start off because this
Mm,
is about the wondrous, super important topic
mm,
about kaiju's.
mm.
Uh, let's start with Perfect. You said, what do you know about kaiju's?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I have only the rudimentary familiarity. I understand that it's the giant monster genre, and that amongst that genre, there's some argument about what to include and what not to include. Distinction which I found was interesting was that including giant mecha was somehow wrong because they weren't natural, but giant mecha with mysterious origins that were just found, like they were alien craft or whatever, that was okay for some people. And I found that to be interesting. And the dispute over whether the attack of the 50-foot woman counted. And that kind of the arguments within the area, within the culture.
Um,
And
I will admit, I do not know a lot about kaiju. So I was introduced to kaiju from Mystery Science Theater 3000, and
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
making fun of a lot of kaiju movies. That being said, despite that, I really really like Gamera. I don't have a good reason for really liking Gamera. It's just it's a turtle that can fly around with its jet fueled turtle parts after like hides in its shell and
you
um
rooted for Bowser, didn't you?
no. That being said, so what happened with Gamera is I also named my first Pokemon Gamera. I played Pokemon Blue not too long after it came out, and naturally I chose a Squirtle, which became the final evolution of Squirtle. And I don't know why I missed that. I can't remember the name of the.
Blastoise, right?
Yes, Blastoise. Became a Blastoise, and I'm like, that's Gamera. You're
Mm-hmm.
Gamera now. Um, so Gelly, you've been a big fan of kaiju.
Yeah.
Uh,
I guess I'm, yeah, kind of a kaiju geek nut, whatever. Yeah.
um, what introduced you to them?
I think I was a dinosaur kid as in a very young age, and that went there was a natural evolution from that to monster movies, and so I guess I just sort of found my way to Godzilla and other rubber suited monsters like him, and yeah, I guess that was kind of one of the starts. I remember in '98 getting really into the craze, the hype for the American Godzilla, which was not good, but the hype did work on me. So yeah, that kind of got me into it when I was young. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I fell into the hype for that Godzilla movie, at least to a certain degree. Um, yeah, although I really need to actually watch some kaiju movies because Gamera's cool, Mothra's cool, Godzilla's okay, sometimes adorable. Um, I don't remember if you showed me or see. I see kaiju stuff. I've been seeing it show up on my Twitter feed a bunch off and on. There was some trans acceptance kaiju Godzilla thing, right?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So Godzilla is by the terms by Americans gendered Godzilla he him, but Godzilla is technically non-binary and was never gendered by the Japanese for the longest time, and so there's something about that where and then also Gamera apparently I didn't realize this until recently, pronouns of it its, and so like if you so those sort of things people have kind of in the trans community and non-binary community have tried kind of taken that as aha, this monster speaks for us or something like that, but yeah, one of us sort of thing.
Yeah, I just thought there was like a video with
Oh,
Godzilla's kid coming out or something.
That's I want to say I can't remember the artist's name. I think Cressa was the first name, but yes, she does these delightful stop motion videos with little Godzilla figures, and yeah, she did a thing where baby Godzilla came out as trans, and then Papa Godzilla, becoming big ally and protecting the. Yeah, so that's very cute, and yes, you should, if you haven't seen that yet, you should look for that because now it's like Godzilla Jr. now being depicted with like a bow on its head and trans bright colors. It's kind of become sort of a little thing lately. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, first off, just in general, that video was adorable.
It's so great.
But yeah. So what exactly do you like about kaiju?
And I just gotta take for a moment and say that it's funny that when you invited me on the show, we're like, we can talk about kaiju, and I'm like, okay, so that's what I mean. So I find that there's a sincerity to the films that you don't find in a lot of other science fiction. That's so cynical and crafted with a sort of cold computer indifference with no room for happy accidents. And so much of the kaiju films that I like from the olden days are full of those happy accidents and the sort of sincerity and the finely crafted miniature sets and all that sort of stuff. There's just something inherently charming about the whole thing that I just gravitate towards, and from there, the monsters themselves are. I like how science fiction and horror oftentimes lets us talk about problems or horrors of society through the lens of fantastical means.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more fantastical than a giant monster that represents pollution or the nuclear bomb or the nuclear whatever. And there's just something, it's like, it's simple, but it's also effective. And I just kind of, I enjoy that part of it,
Yeah, so I always got the impression that Godzilla was based off of the Godzilla's origin was based off of the bombings of, or at the very least the bombings in the ocean nearby after the war, but also to a lesser extent the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then I don't know what Gamera's original origin. Looking up for a joke I wanted to do once to make you smile because you're having a down day. I did look up about Gamera's history, I think, and maybe I'm associating with something. Is Gamera like an Atlantean protector beast that?
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I mean, like the original origin being different, but like, Gamera just like there's something. Yeah, no, I can definitely see the heartwarming aspect with Gamera because, like, even the stuff made fun of or whatever by MST3K or whatnot, like, it's still so charming because it's a giant turtle. Like, how could you hate Gamera? Like, Gamera legit in a fight jumps a pole and swings around it a bunch for way too long before throwing itself at the enemy.
Yeah,
and it's just wonderful.
No, it's absurd and amusing, and no, it's there's just a lot of heart in the movies.
Yeah, and I suppose that brings me to the curious point. You wrote fan fiction.
I wrote fiction. It's not fan fiction, and it's not set in anyone else's world or universe. I wrote my own giant monster thing. It's actually right here. It's no. So I wrote I've written a couple of things, original stories with my original monsters, and my book, In the Shadow of Extinction, published under the name Kelly Warner, not Kelly Wobbegong. That's probably the book that people know me best by at this point, and it's sort of an apocalyptic kaiju story. You know, I don't have the I'm darker edged than the charming stuff that I grew up on, but yeah.
Well, I mean that's the thing about you the stuff you grow up on can sometimes inspire you to make something that is more yourself than the stuff you grew up on. And if things seem like a dark time, it makes it harder to write cheery, happy, go lucky stuff.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Well, that shouldn't be any big problem right now.
Yeah, and by the way, the link to the Amazon is the link to the books is down below. I did actually make sure to link that because
thank you.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like it's rough sometimes when it comes to the various sorts of promotions that you have to deal with, and I'm aware of there's a friend of mine who might come on in a couple weeks who has mostly just written well, actually I think exclusively written short stories in terms of what's gotten published. So it's always like in or as part of a collection.
Oh yeah.
And never like a solo work. Although Christy has published work.
So are there any central story elements that you view as being essential to the genre? Or is it, or do we just deal with, the giant and natural, or is it?
So there's discussion about whether or not Clifford the Big Red Dog counts as a kaiju under certain rules. And so, it does become a discussion. Some people fight back against kaiju that are not Japanese. I find that to be too exclusionary, or the idea that kaiju need to be suitmation tokusatsu. I also find that too I'm more of the opinion that if you want to call it a kaiju, call it a kaiju. It's just the more the merrier sort of thing. I don't really like the gatekeeping aspect of the genre that does exist. And like King Kong, if you want to call King Kong a kaiju, it could be very well the original kaiju movie. It didn't start the kaiju boom. That was the 1954 Godzilla. But hey, Godzilla was inspired by King Kong. The creators of Godzilla readily admit that. And so why not call it a kaiju, is my thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clifford the Big Red Dog, I'm not so sure. But
I've heard it argued that Creature from the Black Lagoon, because of the storyline, and arguments about the story being somehow that was met the criteria for them, and they felt that it was similar and therefore it fit.
I like to think of kaiju as implying something big, but that's me, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
huge.
Right.
Is
It's
my-
like otherwise it's like what stops Frankenstein's monster from being a kaiju. I mean, I just I like to think of it being as something, something kind of the big, and usually that mankind's weapons usually can't destroy is a common trope. I don't know if I'd call Creature of the Black Lagoon kaiju, but
So the important question,
mhm.
is it required for there to only be one of a monster? For instance, the worms in Arrakis are really big, but there's a lot of them.
Oh no, that's a species of kaiju. That's fine by me.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, in both the latest American Godzilla and also the original Gamera, it's suggested that they're the last of their kind, and there's like even bones found of the old ones. So they were a species of Godzillas and Gameras. So no, they don't have to be the one and only, but just often is.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
We're getting geeky over here. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, like you're
That's
dealing
the fun
with
part.
geeky co-hosts, so well, I think we're all geeky.
Yes.
Who doesn't count as geeky anymore? Like, Dune is coming out, and there are people excited over Dune,
Right? Yeah. No, that's like
which I'm also excited about. I was strangely obsessed with Phaedra the Harkonnen as a teenager, so because I was like, Phaedra is cool because he can fight really well but doesn't have so much of the superpower aspect, so it felt more awesome that he could do what he could do. I mean, admittedly, he is still a villain, but
I'm just of the opinion that no matter what movie comes out, it's not going to capture the engagement that I felt when I first read the books, because I'm not 14.
sure, yeah.
yeah, no, that's definitely a coming of age story. Which brings me to another thing. Do you know if a lot of times, at the very least, my memory when it comes to kaiju stuff is a lot of times there's a kid that befriends it or whatnot, and I'm trying to why is that?
Okay, that's very much more a Gamera thing than anything else.
Okay, maybe that's why, because
Yeah.
I mostly like pay attention to Gamera.
I mean, like in Mystery Science Theater, they had the song about. I think it might even be in the English dubs about the friend of all children, Gamera. So like the very first Gamera film where Gamera is a villain. There's a kid that has a pet turtle, and he has to like set it free, and then the kid's out of his mind, and he thinks that the turtle becomes Gamera, and he's like, "Hey, it's my little turtle, he's coming to save me." It's like, dude, that turtle's gonna kill you. And that kid causes so much mayhem because he's after his what he thinks is a pet turtle, and he almost kills his parents and everything. It's bizarre, but they kind of like redid some of that with subsequent Gamera ones, and it was sort of kids, and the idea was they were always called Kenny. Part of it was that they were realizing that kids were the main audience at this point, and they were trying to Gamera slowly became a children's series.
Okay, I can totally see that.
Yeah. When it was rebooted in the 90s, it was more dramatic, and I don't want to call it dark, but sometimes it was dark. And they readapted the kid stuff, but they didn't. What they did was they had like a sort of like soul bond link between Gamera and like a human that it has chosen to kind of like, I don't know. I don't remember that there's much benefit to it for either the monster or the human, but it's like young people like helped give it energy to, like, you know, listen, I don't know.
Okay, so sort of like the people giving their energy in Dragon Ball Z, but like all the time.
Kinda. I mean, they had these little like gems that look like, well, like they look like commas, and they held these comma or apostrophe gems, and like that represented their link to Gamera. They would sometimes glow these apostrophes, and yeah.
Oh, are they like halves of a yin yang?
Holy shit, maybe they are. I need to watch the movies again.
Because that would make sense thematically for them to be the thing where Gamera presumably is the yang, and the other people are the yin. Fuck, I don't remember my.
And see, that's one of the things about. And that's one of the things about watching movies of your childhood as an adult. You unlock parts that you didn't see before, but you know.
I remember some movie where I think it might have been a Mothra thing, where there were two weird twins that were psychically linked.
Yeah, those are the little fairies, or the cosmos. They went by many different names over the series, and yeah, they were like they were the priestesses of Mothra, and they kind of spoke for Mothra.
Yeah.
That was the more fantasy element of the Toho monsters.
So many
Speaking
questions.
of fantasy element, how would dragons fit in?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, are dragons kaiju? Sure, why not?
I mean, they can't really be killed by mortal weapons, and
sure, right?
They're big, and I mean,
dragons would be medieval kaiju.
Exactly. Yeah, just kaiju of a different era. No, absolutely. You know, and dragons have appeared in all different pasts, whether it be medieval England or the ancient China and Japan, and so sure, yeah, kaiju were everywhere. You know, were dinosaurs kaiju? We must draw a line somewhere.
Well, it depends on the dinosaur, I'd presume.
Yeah,
because there's a big difference between a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Velociraptor. Because Velociraptors are tiny. Shit, now my brain's going on dinosaurs. I'm like, what was that dinosaur that's like Velociraptor but bigger and actually closer to the Velociraptors that they do in Jurassic Park?
Utah Raptor.
You mean like Allosaurus?
Yeah,
I think it's Utah. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, the Velociraptors in the movies, they're like 6 feet tall. In real life, they were like 3 feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like tiny little things.
Yeah.
They would have been adorable to have as a pet. People would have pet Velociraptors.
I'm sure.
Because there's no way they would go after someone the size of a human.
I don't know. But yeah.
I mean, I presume... Well, okay. So they might. They might go after someone the size of a human, but a human should be able to defend themselves against a Velociraptor.
Should, yeah.
You never know, those Ewoks were pretty tough.
Hey, the Ewoks had wonderful technology for the considering their general knowledge or something. Something. They found a way. They found a way to defeat those heavily armored troops with rocks. So, um, so, so what is the deal with Mothra? So, like, I'm not super familiar with Mothra. I know Mothra looks cool because it's a giant moth.
Yeah.
But I know nothing about Mothra. And won't Mothra be in the new Godzilla movie?
Yeah, the one that came out last year. Mothra's in that.
Oh shit.
It's okay.
King
of the Monsters last year. Mothra. Okay, so basically, Mothra is a giant moth that, or like, starts out as a larvae that hatches out of the egg, and it's got the priestesses defending it and speaking for it. But what Mothra basically is, in the best stories that involve Mothra, is probably the most anti-capitalism kaiju.
Okay, I like where this is going. Go on.
A kaiju with a message.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Godzilla's the walking embodiment of nuclear war and everything, Mothra is about capitalism and the dangers of it. Much like King Kong, Mothra is about rich businessmen seizing upon the egg and thinking, I'm going to use this to set up something. Fuck the consequences. I hope it's okay I say that word. And
yes. I forgot to mention. Yes, we can swear. I surprisingly don't swear as much as I could, but yeah, okay. Swearing's fine.
So like they try to set up a business scheme around the egg, and when it hatches, come to Funland or whatever. It's very much mixing King Kong with Disney World, and then make it into a horror of capitalism, not caring about consequences, as the monster then destroys things and you try to make money off of it anyway. That's Mothra. And yeah, and like in more recent ones, Mothra, there was like a global warming one. It was not, I don't think it's a great movie, but there was a 90s Mothra movie where, it was about global warming and business trying to basically destroy, make money in the Earth's final centuries. And Mothra kind of like trying to set things right. But so yeah, my opinion, yeah, Mothra is a goofy monster that makes more sense to, I believe, Japanese audiences because silk is so is a big export there and stuff. But and thus the larvae and the moths. But it's also more of a anti-capitalism story that keeps on getting redone, kind of as a stand-in for King Kong.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Although, given that you mentioned that it's anti-capitalist, does Mothra ever start a union? Or does the destruction that Mothra causes count as a protest against the enslavement?
Well, that's what we're going to call it. Yeah, we're going to call it a protest. And the Mothra wins over the hearts and minds of young people by the end, who, despite the fact that it destroyed a city, basically usually welcome Mothra back. Like, we still love you.
Yeah, it's
I was thinking more like the Kaiju coalition, where they all get together and say, if we're going to be doing this for mankind.
there's a silly moment where and well, of course there's many silly moments in Godzilla movies, but there was one in the 60s where Mothra tries to win over Godzilla and Rodan to help fight against an evil monster to save Japan, and Godzilla and Rodan talk back and say, we don't want to. Why should we try to do anything to help humans? There's no reason to help them. And so Mothra has to go off and fight alone. But so there's some of that. Hey, there's a bargaining thing. Yeah, so the monsters are grumpy.
I see. Gamera would have helped.
But what's also interesting is how the first film, the 1954 original, is a very dark and somber film that is very much that I can't imagine what that would have been like to watch that in Japan just a decade after World War II. Because I mean, it destroys Tokyo, so obviously Tokyo got firebombed and everything, and so that's it.
Yeah.
And then also all the radiation sickness that Godzilla brings, but also the film opens with Godzilla basically torching a fishing boat at sea, which is something that was just taken right out of the news, which was the Lucky Dragon was a fishing boat that got too close to one of our nuclear test sites, and everyone died from radiation sickness because our bombs were more powerful than we thought. And so I just, thinking about that, the movie, which has some sort of documentary style moments to it, had to have played so different. And there's no way for us American fans, especially modern fans, to kind of understand how that might have played back then. And it's interesting that within 10 years after that, Godzilla was fighting aliens to save the Earth and sometimes dancing.
Yeah.
That character went through some changes.
and Godzilla taking care of Godzilla's kid.
Yeah. It's a pretty good. Well, actually, Godzilla might be a little bit abusive in that movie, but
that doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. But at one point, the trying to get the little monster to do something, and it kind of goes like that, and it's like, oh god. That played different back then, I bet. But yeah, a lot of themes were explored over the, what is it, like 60 some years that these movies have been made, and there's been some poor choices made. There's a lot of blackface in some of these movies that no, you can't really. I mean, like they were oftentimes try to depict island villagers that prayed to the Kaiju and everything, and oftentimes were Japanese people with blackface, and there's no okaying that. It's just the films, for better and for worse, represent so many different eras of entertainment and film, and I think that that's interesting from a fan standpoint. Like Perfict mentioned something about how today, it's hard to write something, or I think you mentioned it too, about writing something dark and gritty to represent the times. It's like you look at the Godzilla series, and sometimes they represented the mood of the nation at the time, like when things were good and the economy was good and people were happy, the movies got more campy. And then when things went down and think the world was a more cynical place, the movies reflected that too. Batman does the same thing. And so I always find that kind of interesting just to look at from a pulled back,
Yeah, because there's been so much kaiju, so much kaiju. I don't even know where to begin, actually. Out of like genuine curiosity, what would you recommend for a starter into kaiju-ness? That sounded really awkward to say.
I think the best film is the 1954 original Godzilla. I think that that's the best example of that. Will dispel the myth that these movies are all silly kid stuff. But I also think that that's not necessarily the best representation of the genre, because they're not, a lot of them are silly kid stuff. I think it's the best film, but I don't know if it's the best representation. And so then you got stuff like Destroy All Monsters is fun. The 90s Gamera movies are, the Gamera trilogy from the 90s is one of the best examples of the genre. The original Mothra versus Godzilla, and Clifford the Big Red Dog, you know.
Okay.
Also,
it requires the Frankenstein element. The has man taken technology too far? Is it costing man his soul? Whatever they, that sort of thing. That is atomic energy leading us into a dangerous era.
So it's like the 50s in America, especially, we had the kind of atomic era of monster movies and everything. Japan had that too, and I think Godzilla represents that, because in the 54 Godzilla, there was an inventor who created a new weapon, the oxygen destroyer. We're not going to talk about how that works because it doesn't make sense. And it was like the thing that would rival the atomic bomb. And basically, the it's like the invention of the century, but he's so ashamed of it and what it represents and stuff, and tries to destroy his research and stuff. So yeah, I think that there is a lot of sort of like the atomic bomb fears and science and like what hath science wrought, and but then there's also just more fantastical elements where it's not always about the A-bomb, because I feel like at some point they might have realized that Godzilla covered that, and we're now moving on to other things. But
yeah, and that, yeah, and based on the description you had of Mothra, if you don't mind me going back to Mothra, it sounds like the sort of thing that could be, in terms of capitalism, monopolizing spirituality.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. That's a good way to put it, because Mothra is very much the most spiritual of the mainline kaiju. Even Mothra's symbol pretty much has a cross in the middle of it. they're not exactly subtle. But so yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you think of it mostly about capitalizing on something dangerous and unknown, but there is it is clearly established as some other culture's religious artifact that they're now trying to sell.
Yeah.
And
because I could imagine, because obviously in Japan there's Shintoism is like the big religion in Japan, and so and that has a lot of animal type deities, and of all the kaiju that I'm aware of, Mothra seems the most like just a magical giant moth, like the deity of moths.
Yeah, and I mean, they later on had a giant shrimp seriously show up, or lobster show up. So I mean,
well, maybe my thinking was off.
But I mean, no, I hear what you're saying though, and but yeah, one of the things I do feel like isn't explored enough in many of the movies or stories is the idea of them basically being godlike creatures and being deities. Mothra obviously represents that. Gamera to some extent, but for the most part, that seems like an unexplored part of the kaiju subgenre, which is religion. Oftentimes, we explore science or politics or other things in society, but not so much religion. And I feel like that's something that Mothra would seem most primed to explore.
Yeah.
But, Godzilla too. I mean, God's right in the name.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, with Godzilla, it's hard to say because I mean, it's Godzilla is just the English translation or the English transliteration of the name, and so,
right? Yeah, Gojira,
what else about Godzilla? Now I am starting to get a bit dry on thoughts of questions. I should have written down questions beforehand. That might have been a smarter move. But why choose smarter when you can choose more fun? Seriously though, so I forgot to ask, just to be sure, what is your favorite kaiju?
Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah.
The wrong choice, because Gamera is clearly a better kaiju in every single way, shape, or form.
Okay, all right.
Seriously though, that is kind of nice. Godzilla's like third for me. I actually like Mothra a lot too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them. There's. I mean, we haven't even mentioned some of the. I can't think of all the names. I mean, there's a lot of different monsters that were used in this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, there's Mechagodzilla,
King Ghidorah, Rodan.
Yeah.
Hedorah, the smog monster. I mean,
I think
so much.
I think the one with is the one with Gamera spinning around or whatever. I think that might be Gamera fighting Rodan. Is that right?
It's one a lot like Rodan, but it's not Rodan.
Oh.
The Gamera series had its monsters, and the Godzilla series had its monsters, and they never met.
Oh. I mean, except when Godzilla.
So you're saying
except when Gamera's a villain in Godzilla.
That never Spider-Man happened. Split, right?
Oh, that never happened?
Yeah, it is very much a Marvel DC sort of thing. Godzilla had Toho and all of its monsters, and Toho had Godzilla and all of its monsters, and then Daiei had Gamera and the other supporting monsters. And no, they never met. Godzilla versus Gamera is sort of like the geek wish that we'll probably never get. But,
oh my god. I did not know that. Oh my god. I feel so dumb about that.
Oh no.
It's oh wow. My dreams of Gamera and Godzilla being friends were just that, dreams.
And a lot of fan art.
That's true. Maybe it's because I mostly know the series from fan art and
there's a lot of
like that.
Yeah.
Because like it would be such a good combination. I mean, Gamera and Godzilla, and they'd be like wanting to do different things, and they'd like not get along and maybe have an argument, and then like finally work together and be like the best superhero team up as they fight Rodan and Rodan but not Rodan.
Yeah, that's the dream movie for me. fuck all the Star Wars sequels. That's what I want. But unlikely we'll ever see it. But then again, who knows?
Well, I mean, with it depends on when it comes to the Godzilla movies. The most recent ones or whatever, those aren't produced by Toho, are they?
There's in the last 5 to 10 years, there's been kind of a new surge in Godzilla stuff. In America, we have Godzilla and then Godzilla King of the Monsters, which are very much CGI fests with American casts, except for Ken Watanabe. Japan, during that same time, made the Godzilla anime trilogy, which is not really that good.
Oh, that's a shame.
And then they also made Shin Godzilla, which is very good. And that's sort of it's one of the more unique and weird versions of Godzilla. He looks horrifying and horrible. So both Japan and America are making Godzilla movies simultaneously almost. Next year there's a new American Godzilla versus Kong coming out. And then after that, we don't know what's happening. That might be the end of Godzilla in the US, and then it might just go back to Japan.
Oh, that would be a shame. There's like, because I could imagine in the US, we could do Godzilla and Gamera.
We probably could. I mean,
we got together. Fuck, I can't remember the name of the anime site. Cause the anime site, the one anime site, Crunchyroll, whatever. Anyways,
yeah, Crunchyroll, yeah.
Yeah, cause I believe it was Crunchyroll that worked together to get, the Korean manhwa animated by Japanese artists. Basically, there's an anime out there of Tower of God, which is a Korean manhwa. So, which is awesome because Japan and Korea not gotten along for a long period of time. It's like the second one I'm aware of where this occurred, although the first one was vampire. I'm an anime nerd, can you tell? The first one was and I actually read a lot of Tower of God before this came out, but because they dealt with webtoons a lot. But yeah, the other one was a vampire one. I forgot the name of it. I also read a bunch of it at some point, but they only came out with like one episode for an OVA type thing. But anyways, that's not quite
now
related.
For marketing, you just need to get different Gojira to be. You need different monsters for different cities within America.
There you go. Right.
Then each city can identify with their monster. Then you can start doing crossovers where the monsters meet.
I am into this idea.
Yes. No, I'm into that too. Like, well, for one, like, I know we can't, because I'm in Minnesota. I know we can't get Godzilla or Gamera here in Minnesota, but maybe Mothra. There is a lot of there's a fair amount.
You just need some monster that was interred under the Great Lakes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I suppose that could work, maybe, but that's starting to get a little bit silly. I say, talking about yeah.
That man's meddling has released Mothra from beneath the Great Lakes, you see.
Well, no, the Mothra thing would be involve an egg brought into the Mall of America. But anyways,
I like it. I do.
Yeah, no, there's some Japanese festival stuff here in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why. I heard there was some like if it was because some of the weather was similar to some parts of Japan or whatever. I presume on the northern end in the summer because it gets cold here. But yeah, no, I it'd be interesting if that happened. And
yeah, and I'm trying to think what monster would go to Illinois. Oh, I'm gonna be stuck thinking about this for a while.
Well, Illinois doesn't do much computer manufacturing. We all know California is where Mechagodzilla
for sure.
is from. There's no way to go against that. Like
no.
California, Mechagodzilla. Maybe Washington might be Gamera. Maybe New York would be Godzilla. New York has to be Godzilla.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's obligatory.
Yeah, biggest city, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
over.
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla came to New York in the 90s movie as well, and had kids.
Yes, that is an accurate description of the plot, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I am aware of the movie. I used to watch a lot of things making fun of movies or talking about movies. So through that, I am aware of plots of movies I have never actually watched in person. But like, so I don't know how I actually feel about the films because sometimes those things are unfair. So like, that is I mean, that's a shame that there's so much.
Are you suggesting that Cinema Sins is sometimes nitpicky?
Cinema Sins is made of nitpicky, which is why I only watch Cinema Wins. Cinema Wins talks about the good things about films.
I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, it does. Cinema Wins, like, legit, just every movie, and it's just like, this was a good thing. Like, even if it's a movie that's hated, it's just like, because like the reasoning being that there is one movie, or there's one at least one person who that's their favorite movie, and so they wanted to show some appreciation for the stuff that people enjoy. Sure, that there are people out there that enjoy. But yeah, no, I like Cinema Wins way too much.
One time I heard a movie review which I just loved because they were saying this movie is bad on this, it's dry on this, it's got a poor script, the lackluster performances, the director was phoning it in. However, it has really good TNA. So if what you want out of your summer flick is TNA, go see Porky's Revenge. And I was like, actually, that's pretty good as reviews go. It's saying, okay, falls flat in all these departments, but this one's good. If this is what you're shopping for, this is why to go to the film.
Yeah, exactly. So, which is why, it's just because most films are not like bad films. Oh, hey, Christy. You're back. This is about when we start talking about whatever anyways, so fuck it. This is there are good things about films, and most films that we watch today are not bad. Like,
no, yeah. There's like, few that are just abject disasters,
Yeah. I mean, it occasionally happens, but oftentimes it's like it's just not the best film ever, and then people like bitch about it.
Well, since we're in the open territory now, as you've declared it open season,
Yeah,
sometimes you get disappointed. I watched No Country for Old Men. And I was like, okay, it was a pretty good movie. It's not a story that must be told. It's not a story that I haven't seen essentially before in all of its elements. It's not like I want my money back or something, but this was in no way a moving classic. It was supposed to be, it's overhyped maybe. I mean, I went in expecting it to be an important in some way movie, and it was just a movie.
yeah, it doesn't help, but things are overhyped. But Christy, you have returned.
I have returned.
Hello.
I've been here the whole time. I was on the porch.
Well, I mean, yeah, which means you heard about what an awesome writer you are, and that's definitely what we talked about half the time.
Oh dear. No.
You do have published work. That's about all I said, actually.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
actually read your books. I probably should. You are the co-host.
Okay. I'm not promoting them though.
Fair.
The funny thing is, the last thing that we were talking about was going to finally seeing Kiki's Delivery Service. So if you're gonna Miyazaki, we were talking about Miyazaki, so, and neither one of us has seen it.
Oh, I've seen that movie. Weird, the anime. I saw Paprika in the theater. It was amazing.
Well, we're gonna watch Into the Spider-Verse first, which is the best superhero movie ever made. Period. End of statement.
I don't know if I can agree with that. It's a good movie. There's no way I'm not going to say that, because it is. It's well made. It's entertaining, good casting, well written. But the best superhero movie ever?
Yes, I include the 1941 Adventures of Captain Marvel in that.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about like the 1970. You were talking about that, and I was originally thinking of the 1970s, 1980s Captain America.
Oh God, that was terrible.
Yeah, I know. I watched it on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
That is a movie that quite literally was made to keep their licensing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On it. They just had to turn out something, and they didn't care what.
Yeah, the Adventures of Captain Marvel 1941 is the best ever. Was the best ever until Into the Spider-Verse. I watch a lot of superhero movies. Speaking of the disappointment, La La Land was one that was, from everything everybody was telling me, it's like made for me. Exactly. It's like I went to see it and I actually dozed off at 2 or 3 points during it, which I don't do during music at all. So
yeah.
Thing.
I don't know much about that, but now I'm curious. So okay, so I have a film that I am disappointed in. Since we're talking about films we're disappointed in now, the film is fuck, I don't remember the name of the film. If it wasn't Mission to Mars, I want to say it was Mission to Mars.
I do think that's a Gary Sinise and stuff, I think.
I don't remember the actors for sure. All I remember is they go to Mars, and like it starts out really good. Like the first half is like really interesting. Like they're going through space and all this space stuff. Second half of the film, ancient aliens.
Mm.
It's just like, what the hell? What the hell happened? Like, this started off, it was disappointing because the first half is genuinely good. And that's what all the trailers were focusing on. And it was just like focused on.
And then you felt shanghaied.
Yeah, because they go and like it's all realistic, like what would be like traveling to Mars, and then all of a sudden it's like fucking, oh no, we don't understand what's happening, and I'm just like, wait, what's going on here? And then it's just like ancient aliens, and I'm just, why? Why?
Well, of course you know the one movie I recommend to everybody, and nobody ever goes to watch it, but it's so bizarre that I adore it. It's one of my favorite movies, which is Rockula. And if you've never seen Rockula, somebody posted it to YouTube, and it's been there for quite a few years. So have at. It's pretty good. It's actually better than my VHS copy.
Crap, did I watch the entire film or just part of it? I can't remember. I don't know, because I watched at least half of Rockula.
If you've ever wanted to see Bo Diddley in a leotard,
I don't know who Bo Diddley is. we're look, we're me and Kelly, we're the young ones comparatively to you and Perfict. We don't know all the Bo Diddley.
You're trying to say you don't know Bo Diddley?
I don't remember. You've mentioned him before too, Christy, but like I totally forgotten who Bo Diddley is.
You don't know Diddley.
Exactly. I do not know Diddley about Bo Diddley.
Oh, did they have you heard? Mama's stand by you, mockingbird. He's the one who invented that rhythm. It's called the Bo Diddley rhythm.
Was he a musician first or an actor first? Would you say?
Oh, that's one of the. He's acted in 2 movies.
Oh, okay.
So
Over
okay.
the, I mean, it was.
And
huge
Rockula was one of them.
Okay.
Obviously.
He was huge in the 50s. This is one of the things he did because he thought it was going to be fun, and it apparently was for everybody involved.
Hey.
And Devo's involved in the background writing of it, and Thomas Dolby plays a reincarnated pirate. And, it's a bizarre fucking film.
No, I think I watched through the whole thing. You're mentioning the reincarnated pirate brought it back, the last half of the film back to me.
He has to duel him with a peg leg and a ham bone.
Look, it's super important. Like, it's for... Like...
Okay,
the guy talked to a fortune. The guy talked to a fortune teller, and and the fortune teller was like, "This is how you can get this girl, or whatever. You have to like dress up like a pirate and use a peg leg and whatnot." And I can't remember. It was like a really it gets more and more weird as the film goes on, which is a good thing.
And Tony Basil as Rockula's mom, with the best musical number in the entire. Well, Rapula at the end is kind of good, but I'm sorry. It's a movie I love that nobody has really ever heard of. I find that offensive in some strange way. Because it cost me a lot of money to get a VHS copy.
Yeah, now you can do it for free. It is if you want to watch 70s.
80s.
Sorry, 80s. It was in the past. Like, all parts of the past just blend together. No, 80s. Wait, what time was Rocky Horror Picture Show?
That was
So,
Shit.
Rocky Horror Picture Show was 1975.
Okay, that's why I was thinking about it, because there's
And the sequel
in the
to
sense
Rocky,
that it's so weird and gets weirder and doesn't really care. That sort of reminds me of the Rocky Horror attitude.
yeah, Shock Treatment is the second movie is the sequel to Rocky Horror is better. Is actually better movie. And the songs are better. The songs aren't quite as good, but in general, it's a better movie.
Huh.
Shock Treatment, you've not ever heard of that either.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, I've heard of it as well, but I haven't seen it. I
It's
have
pretty
seen
good.
Rockula though, because of you, Christy.
Well, good.
Rocky Horror Picture Show was an experience.
Yeah.
You have to go see it in a theater where they're doing the whole Rocky Horror thing, and there are people who are into it and acting it out, and you won't understand what's going on in the film, and you won't understand what's going on in general, but you have to do that first. Then you can try and watch and understand the movie.
Because there was a snowstorm when I first went to see it, there was nobody in the theater except for me and my mom.
Sorry.
So I did see it straight the first time. And then I'm like, well, there's other stuff going on. I want to go back and watch it again.
Were you
and-
ever straight to see?
Well, I did join the cast and I got to wear fishnets a lot. So what the hell? I played Riff Raff in the
There you go.
cast for most because I was very thin and my hair was long and funny looking, like it is right now. There's a lot of wind blowing going on because there's a fair amount of wind in Buffalo right now. So sorry for the.
It's nothing to apologize for. But yeah. No, I'm
Shock Treatment is a really, really good movie. And
okay. Now I have to wait. Is that on YouTube too, or is that like? Elsewhere?
It's very doubtful. It sells well on DVD still.
Curses. Whatever. I'll
Uh,
just have to check my friend's Netflix. The classic route. Yeah. No.
There was supposed to be a third one called Queen of Outer Space that never got made.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. That is actually really interesting. My brain randomly decided to look. I've been thinking about Dune like way too much recently because it's coming out soon, and I'm a Dune nerd.
Oh, I'm so not looking forward to it. I just don't care.
Yeah, no, that's essentially how. So one of my roommates is also a Dune nerd, and the other doesn't care. I'm actually curious. Do the other two care? Do the other two people in this room care?
I don't.
I care. I'm gonna see it at least eventually.
Yeah.
I'm interested, but I recognize that it, like I said, I have to view it with detachment because I am going to be comparing it to how the book impacted me, and I'm no longer 14. Not going to be the same experience. I'm not coming to it with the same thing. It's not just that it's a different medium and so on. It's just not going to be the same for me.
And I'm gonna come for not as a Dune fan because I'm not one, but as a film fan, Villeneuve. I think that's how you pronounce the name. The director is great. So
Yes.
yeah, done a lot of good sci-fi.
That
Yes.
makes sense.
I didn't say hello to anybody. I just popped in and pretended I was here the whole time.
Yep. Well, that works for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about, Christy. You've been here the whole time. Like,
Hi, Kelly. You're still awesome.
Hi, thanks.
yeah, no, you bring up, for one thing, I like the fact that you have a passion for kaiju. Like, it's, I don't know, maybe I just like people who have a passion for things.
I kind of leaned into it a little bit, and it's kind of become my brand. But
Well, yeah,
it's all
I mean
right.
that. Yeah, I mean I can see how that can happen.
How many people tag me whenever they find something Godzilla related on Twitter? But no, I love that. I enjoy that. It's like, oh, I thought of you, and it's like, thank you, that's sweet. But yeah, it's something that I get a lot of love out of, and a lot of fun, and it's I guess sometimes watching one of the old ones, that's my happy place, one of the old films, just something to kind of relax and unwind with.
Well, can I hate to be I'm sure it was done earlier, defining kaiju, because when you said Godzilla,
Oh yeah,
oddly enough, about a week and a half ago, I was really trying to figure out what order to watch the Toho movies in, and I didn't know. Is that kaiju?
Yes. Yeah.
That
that's,
is?
That's
Oh.
Kaiju. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, screw it. I love that stuff. I wouldn't be able to talk about any of this. Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, that's the original Kaiju.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was inspired by King Kong, which is the whole argument we had, or well, not argument, a conversation about arguments that have occurred within the kaiju community about what counts as a kaiju in terms of, does King Kong count as a kaiju? Does Clifford the Big Red Dog count as a kaiju? Does I can't think of another one off the top of my head.
Yeah, dragons and dinosaurs and stuff. Yeah.
King Kong versus Godzilla was my favorite movie as a kid, followed by Mothra.
The King Kong versus Godzilla, that movie's so much fun. It's so goofy, but yeah.
I'm still a fan of Gamera, although Mothra comes second for me.
Gamera is friend of children.
He is really neat. Gamera... He is filled with turtle meat.
I watched that North Korean, or well, South Korean / North Korean Godzilla ripoff.
Pulgasari.
I watched that about 2 days ago. Finally,
it's not great.
No, but it is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very much a commentary on how it was made.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a more interesting movie when you realize that a North Korean dictator kidnapped a South Korean filmmaker and told him to make him a kaiju movie. I mean,
yeah.
Not many of those movies out there.
No. Yeah.
For the best.
Yeah, it is best for directors to not be kidnapped to make kaiju movies.
If like the discussion of, if someone held a gun to your head, what kind of movie would you make? And everyone's like, that'll never happen. It happened to this guy. So...
But the movie itself is a commentary on...
Best to think about it beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commentary on how it was made and anti-dictatorship and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a piece of its time, much like the original Godzilla was.
Mm-hmm.
The Gojira. I've seen both versions of the Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
The first one. I like the one with Perry Mason, but the other one's kind of better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve Martin. Steve Martin. That's the character's name. Raymond Burr, Perry Mason. Yeah, they edited him into the 54 one. It's better without him in it, but that's still an interesting movie and kind of interesting experiment, you know, turning a Japanese movie into what a lot of American audiences thought was an American movie. Yeah, it was, yeah, that was the
But
start of things.
yeah,
Uh, I yeah, I would well, I would put King Kong in the if that's the definition, but I maybe since until just now I didn't know what the actual meaning was. So
I would call King Kong a kaiju. I mean, some people wouldn't. I would. Why not?
yeah. We actually brought this up before because of Dune, because I mentioned it because I'm obsessive about Dune. But anyways, the worms in Arrakis arguably also kaiju, because kaiju are oftentimes a species. You said, Kelly.
Well, they can be. I mean, sometimes they can be a singular thing. Sometimes they can be a species, and I'm just of the opinion that, you know, if you are coming at it in good fun, then call it whatever you want. But yeah, sure, giant worms a kaiju. I'm for it. Dune is a kaiju movie. We're all coming for the worms. It's therefore a kaiju movie.
No,
Okay.
the worms
Or
are more of a side thing.
No, no.
or Baron Harkonnen could be a kaiju and character in the David Lynch.
No. One moment. I need to get the cat out of my room.
Sorry, I'm being silly. Okay. No, I love those movies.
Yeah.
Mechagodzilla. I have a Mechagodzilla around here somewhere.
Me too, right above my head. Hey, Mechagodzilla represent.
I don't have a bathroom in my room for cats, and so therefore, I need to let cats out once they go out of their hiding spot. Look, Thor hides behind my bed or underneath my bed or hides wherever he can. So I knew he was there this time, but there's nothing I could do about it because I can't reach far enough to get him. But yeah, so I'm like, I need to let you out just because I don't want you to be up and about and have to go to the bathroom.
Yes. Oh, I don't have my curtain up. Shit. Well, now you can see what's under the curtain. A lot of mess.
Yeah, I mean, I almost went to, it could be worse. Everything could be worse. We're like, yeah, it's the worst thing ever right now with the massive number of fires and the pandemic and stuff, and then it's just like, but it could get worse.
Let's not say that.
Well, yes, but then again, I'm getting to catch up on the list of movies that I haven't watched.
That's true.
So see,
like,
there's a bright side.
Well, yeah, and oh shit, there was and Arya
Arya
de Mezzo won as an anarchistic Satanist with the slogan "Fuck the Police," won Republican nomination for New Hampshire County for police sheriff.
Yeah, I do.
Which is awesome. And also she was... What?
I thought she was running unopposed originally, so
Yeah, maybe she won completely. Shit.
Well, they started to run a write-in against her, which I didn't know about. Somebody pointed me to something on, of all things, Paul, which I would never normally go there, but you know.
Yeah, but like I legit hope she wins. Even though I disagree with her on a lot of things, when it comes to policing, I would imagine that she would do a better job than than whoever was dealing with the stuff at the time. And, that's a good thing. She has empathy, and that's important. She definitely...
I haven't talked to her in a while. Like,
well, yeah, not since she was on the show, or not since
no, I've talked to her since we did the she was on my channel.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I have talked to her since, and she was gonna join Tranarchy, which we haven't, which only has one episode so far. So I think she's a little busy right now.
Yeah, I think she's a little busy right now too. I was going to do something.
We were trying to get her to join. I don't want to say she was going to join.
I didn't formalize my setup to chat with her. There's a lot of scheduling things because she was going off to Nevada at the time, and I had my own issues, and
well, I when you said it could be worse, I wanted to do one that only Kelly would understand. Them. It could be worse. It could be Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Well, I thought I'd have nothing to say. Good.
I'm trying to think.
Jet Jaguar was a character in one of the Godzilla films that was supposed to be the next big spin-off, and never showed up again in anything because it failed miserably. It was an awful.
Let me guess.
idea.
It was a jet-powered Jaguar.
No, it was a guy. It was a guy or robot. Now I'm losing.
Robot with a big old grin on its face and kind of a cone head, who inexplicably could program itself to grow 100 times its size. Just it decided it could, and that is an interesting movie though, because the leads, I argue, are totally gay. But
everybody argues they're totally gay. I don't think there's a question that those are good. That's a gay couple.
Yeah, it's the gay Godzilla movie. Yeah. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll look up what the actual name of the damn thing is. Oh, Godzilla vs. Megalon.
Oh, of course, yeah. I don't like Megalon as a character anyway, but that's the one I can do without. I always wish they could figure out they were supposed to do a Godzilla versus Rodan at one point, crossing the studios, and never got that worked out, and it's too bad. I would very much like to see that.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about how much we'd like to see Godzilla versus Gamera, but oh well.
Oh wait, Rodan is the pterodactyl, the flying turtle. Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to make it happen. You see.
Right. No,
yeah.
I mean,
write up a treatment. Start pitching it.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, most of these movies are being made by fans and geeks now anyway, so.
Yeah. It's like you already have stuff written, so you just have to, like, you're halfway there. You just need to write a film adaptation based off of your own stories. And then,
and then somehow find the budget.
Well, no, you just keep putting it out there. You shop it, and then you let them steal it from you.
No. You need to actually get in contact with the right people. It's about who you know, not the quality of the work. So you need to go down. So there are two
You
ways
need to
can
shop
do
it to
this.
somebody Disney adjacent.
Mm,
Then Disney steals the idea from you, and you get your movie. See?
that's
Yeah,
a
but then
good
you don't
idea.
get money for it.
Yeah,
But I get to watch my movie though.
I've had that happen. I'd really like to have it not happen again.
Mm,
Yeah, no, you so what you do is you get in good contact with Christy, and then Christy can show you all the
Just
the
how to
people
get your idea stolen by Disney.
specifically how to get that done.
Yeah, that was. They eventually got paid $500 for it.
oh.
Oh, that's
That is a success story.
Yeah, well, it was a very popular movie. That's as far as I'll go.
okay.
Uh,
So what you're saying is,
I happen
is
to-
you need
I
to
happen-
get. So what you're saying is you need to get a lawyer, and then
no, that's what we did because it's it's a long story. A lot of people get afraid of their ideas being stolen, and that's not really something that happens. But a specific story can get stolen. The structure, the way it was resolved, the basic idea, the structure, the way it was resolved were all from what me and my friend wrote.
Mm.
And we had submitted it to something that was run by the person who eventually wrote the movie.
gotcha.
That
So
sucks.
what? Okay, so they edited it enough to not get in too much legal trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Which-
I assume.
I happen to love the movie, and I thought it was better than what we did. So
I mean, so like, I guess some good came of it.
I mean,
We're trying to look on the bright side of things today.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm look on the bright side of a lot of things. I mean, but yeah, it's not a thing that happens often, and when it does happen, it's usually coincidence because like well, let's go back to Frank Herbert. He did 21st Century Sub in the 58 or 60. And another like almost identical book came out at the same time. And it just happened because it just happened. It wasn't a thing that anybody did on purpose.
Yeah, because that happens too. Like,
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where there are things that just seem weird in terms of the timing, and then there are things.
Just look into some of the stuff, Zootopia. Dealing with Zootopia.
Wait,
It'll
what,
give you an idea.
wait, what happened with the Zootopia? Do I not know about this?
Oh, it was pretty much directly stolen.
Oh.
Yeah, but
The movie. It was if you just look
Yeah,
into
I'll
it,
look
just put
into
that
that.
in. I'm sure you can find it. YouTube, so on. That they'll explain the whole thing. That it was pitched, and they even had character art, and so on. And then they bought it and didn't produce it.
Mm.
They produced another film that was remarkably just like it.
Mm.
Gotcha.
or the of Bug's Life and Ants, which came out at the same time, but they had there were people that crossed over between the two movies, that crossed over between the two studios during the production, which had a lot to do with the way both of them came similar.
Yeah, although with some of those similarities, some of it can just be like if you blurt out stuff too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's always a thing too. I know I blurt out. Well, sometimes I blurt out way too much of D&D story plot elements that haven't occurred yet, which is a problem sometimes. So at the very least, I can sympathize with that. I mean, unfortunately, I can't sympathize with ever finishing much of any work out there. My book is still not done. I work on it like not at all, and I should. No, I'm busy with. I'm honestly busy with trying to deal with low-income housing and making sure I have a place to live. I honestly I'm trying, or at the very least, trying to focus on that and improving my rating ability in World of Warcraft Classic because I am a gaming nerd too. I am so many types of nerd. Like
one of the best pieces of advice I ever got on writing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna credit it to Stephen Barnes, but it may not be him, because I don't know who told me this. But I think it was Stephen Barnes. If you write a page a day, at the end of a year, you have a 365-page novel.
Yeah. And definitely, like, there's the whole thing about starting writing, where you just write for like 5 minutes a day, or how much time, even what little you can, and then it can bloom to more writing.
What I understand that people have accepted as being good advice on writing is schedule it. Schedule a time when you're going to write every day, and then sit there and don't write.
And don't write.
That's okay, but you're going to spend that time sitting there. That's your space, and you are addressing yourself to the issue, and you don't have to accomplish anything. You don't have to put, pen to paper, but you have to be there, and what you're doing is not writing, or you're writing. One of the two is going to happen, and then you get to clock out.
Yeah, I do think that scheduling it and saying this time is for the words does help. And also turning off social media, like blocking it if you have to.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, the first draft of the next novel was written in 31 days. Because I really wanted to write it, obviously. So that meant that those were 8-hour days, and I used to handwrite first drafts then, so I actually damaged my hand. But I write very small, so it doesn't matter. The first draft was 68,000 words. So
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It ran 88 in the second to final draft, and then I put it away for years and years until I finally came out, because it was a trans novel. I tried to sell it for a while, but at least one editor said, "You don't know what this novel is about yet," which I thought, okay. And then when I figured it out, now I know how to fix the little bits of it. So next year.
Well, now may be that novel's time.
Exactly. It was inspired by trying to come out in '94, apparently, because that was, I started a version of it soon after. Yeah, one of those. I don't know. It's. I take forever to get started, and then when I do, I write very fast. Which may or may not be a good thing.
Um, I write. I write sometimes. I
That describes my style of writing too. Sometimes.
well, I mean, okay, so definitely I get various roadblocks sometimes when it comes to writing. Currently, it's well, partially because I want to get deal with life stuff and make sure to do that, and that makes it hard to schedule anything for me. But I mean, also I need to finish the medical texts of the fantasy realm that I am doing.
Mm.
It's important. It's not actually important. It's technically just world building, but it's important. So because there's magic, but it's not like magnificent. It's not like magic can solve anything. It's just, or sorry, everything. Magic can do cool stuff. It's like an extra energy source that can do cool stuff, but you have to understand what you're doing. So if you don't understand what it means to heal someone, you're not going to be able to heal them. And there's a lot of like ideas that they have, because it's also kind of medieval time period, and there are a lot of ideas that they have that are wrong, and a lot of the medical texts are based off of ancient texts, although I think the Chinese one, the ancient Chinese medical text involving qi has some elements that I use as real life in terms of accessing the special energies. Anyways, yeah, so there's a lot in the understanding the medical text is difficult.
If I can say one of the problems, and when you said sit down and write, and it's she would have the same problem as I do. When I sit down to write, there is a more than 50% chance that I will wind up writing a song, which is not what I sat down to do. Although that's, I used to make more money off of music than fiction, but I'm old now, so they don't like old chicks doing music. I got lost there. Yeah, so that is a problem. So when you do different kinds of things, it's also to separate the two is one of the hints.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to with that sort of thing. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. The writer discussing writing things.
Well, you have heard the ones on gender ephemera, so that actually was when I sat down to finally get back to work on the novel. That was written during that particular writing hour. So, oops.
Yeah, it's words. It's words. Did you know words exist? I am capable of stating words. They are there. They are out there. Things seem to have wound down a little bit, just a tad.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
why don't we just take extra time to wrap things
Craft
up?
our words.
Let's say fine. That's fine.
Let's just take a little extra time to wrap things up. You know, be chill about it. Not be worried about like the amount of time it takes to wrap things up. Describe the wrapping up of things with every little bit of detail. Perfect. Where can people find you?
Well, there's here and the Rumpus Room, which links below, and conversations can be had there, and they can hear me talk about the subjects we talk about here.
And
Yes.
sometimes presumably different subjects.
Yes. Sometimes I talk about other things too, not just you guys.
But
But aren't you supposed to talk about us all the time? Aren't we your favorites? Yeah, no, that's fine.
Jeez.
I am. But look, we've got like a we're on the smaller end of our podcast thingies, and we're still starting out. We've only been doing this for 9 months, so like it's just starting out when it comes to podcast time, because sometimes those things take like 2 years before there's a significant audience. But anyways, I'm Ozma in the Dark. I might actually do stuff at some point. I've been not getting, or I've been dealing with a lot of life stuff, so I might actually either I might actually work on the Les Mis thing I promised my Twitter followers, or the video I was going to make probably months ago. Look, life sometimes happens. But things are kind of chilled now. So maybe I'll get stuff done. But otherwise, you can find me here. You can find me Ozma in the Dark just about anywhere. I know I have all my links at ozmainthedark.com, because there's a really cheap site, because I am very, very few people know me, so there wasn't any reason for that to be an expensive site. That being said, I did it through WordPress, so technically ozmainthedark.com just takes you to ozmainthedark.wordpress.com. But that's its own thing. And and you can find me here and on Twitter at Talking to Nothing. And maybe occasionally on Twitter at Ozma in the Dark, because I technically have that Twitter handle too. I just don't use it much. Christy, where can people find you?
my channel is Christy Abbey, spelled like it's spelled on the screen right now. There's Chris Abbey without the TUI, Chris Abbey Music, which is also on YouTube. You can find me Normality Quake, as in something I don't understand, earthquake, and on Twitter and somewhere else. The Suspicious Human, my band site is going to be overhauled. I'm not overhauling it, so it'll actually get done. And we do have a Discord for this thing, but we don't use it very often. And that's one of our rotating co-hosts is Siren V, who is working on that still.
I know the hiccups have returned.
And as soon as I get off the air with this, there'll be six songs in Chris Abbey Music, which I haven't. All I have to do is just click the button and say public. There was stuff I did for the festival was online this year, so just things I did sitting at my chair with my guitar, and including a better version of Gender Ephemera than was my demo for it. Where else am I? I actually do have a website, but I don't use it. But I've gone back and looked at it, and it has very good advice on being a small time musician. which I was surprised at, because I was really out of it when I wrote anything on there. So if you actually care, chrisabbeymusic.blogspot.com, and there's a couple of demos for songs I can't stand on there, and one for one that I think is awesome. That were actual studio-ish demos. And where else? There's a bunch of places.
Where else are you? Are you just like everywhere? Is that what's going on?
I found some of my demos on Bandcamp. I found two really good ones on SoundCloud. Or not SoundCloud, on Reverb Nation. The last two things that my old duo recorded, which were very good. And where else am I? Yes, I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm like Chicken Man, but that's such an old reference that the youngins won't get that.
That is true. I do not get it.
It's okay. Chicken Man. The tag was Chicken Man. He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
Oh.
And what else was I doing? I'm doing something new, and I've forgotten what it is. Oh, and if anybody really, really, really wants to read the one book that's still in existence, that still can be found, well, the one novel, is a Norg Dixon sort of barbarian mystery.
Okay.
Which you can find in ebook everywhere, and there's the Wonderland Tarot, which keeps me in Skittles and beer.
What was its title again?
The case of the Outcast Oracle. A Norg Dixon sort of barbarian mystery. A Norg Dixon sort of barbarian mystery is the cover name for the trilogy. I'm in the middle of the second one, but that's not the next novel that's coming out. The next novel that's coming out is an actual serious one, which I don't know if I can do serious, but let's see what happens.
Okay.
I've done a couple serious short stories not long ago, so.
So, is that it?
Perry Mason turned everyone into alliterative assholes.
Is that it?
Oh, that was it was actually, yes, the title was very much based on a Perry Mason book. So the second one is actually called The Garrulous Griffin. Case of the Garrulous Griffin. Which is weird. Well, so the first one's weird, and I apologize if some of it comes off as racist, because I didn't realize it at the time that could come off as racist. I was trying to be anti-racist, and it may have had the opposite effect. So that's one of the reasons I don't promote the book that much.
Fair.
I was literally commenting on some of the old mystery novels, and if I add one line, I could probably fix it.
Sure.
It's okay. God.
Is that it?
I'm trying to remember. There's something I can't remember that I needed to remember.
Okay. We can get to Kelly, and then if you remember,
yeah.
Then
I'm doing a lot. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Kelly.
Hi.
Where can people find you?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Anxiety Song. You can find my books on most online booksellers under Kelly Warner.
Yeah, and there's a link down below for your books. I did make sure of that.
Okay, cool. Also, you can listen to my podcast about Japanese horror films called One Missed Pod, which I co-host with my friend Zach Long. So Yeah, Kelly Warner, Anxiety Song, One Miss Pod. That's me.
Yeah, I didn't remember the name of your podcast, and you should put that on your Twitter thing so people can find it easier, and then people can click to it, and then more people can show up to your podcast.
One Missed Pod just made me think of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The combination of having just mentioned horror and One Missed Pod.
Yeah,
it was a nod off of the One Missed Call horror films, and so it was just kind of
okay, so, that makes sense. I'm like,
yeah, so
it sounded familiar.
Yeah, so One Missed Pod. Yep.
Okay.
We're talking about the original Ring films in the coming month.
Oh. What is your genre of fiction?
Typically sci-fi, horror, some dark fantasy. I wrote a kaiju novel titled In the Shadow of Extinction, and I also have a horror novella named Rakasa, and I have more work coming out. I also have some other work under my previous name, which I'm not going to talk about. But
good.
But
look, we don't go around dead naming here. That being said, my mom accidentally dead named me today, but it was an accident, and it was only because I was obsessed with Dune as a teenager, and we were talking about Dune in sometime around before the D&D session or whatnot, and she hasn't and we're pretty sure it was just because she was thinking about me and my obsession back then, and not about me right now. And it's not the biggest deal for me, because I know she doesn't try to misgender me, and I know it was 100% an accident. Yeah, it is just funny circumstance. Any place else that you can be found, Kelly?
I also have another Twitter account that was it's kind of a little bit more my author account is Oh Hell Kel, and that's Kel spelled Kell. That about covers it. I have a website I'm working on, but it's not up yet. So
fair. And with that, your voice matters.
You'll get this right someday.
I will get this right someday. It is a good tagline. It is a wonderful tagline, and I need to properly remember it.
And say it with sincerity. And if you can fake sincerity, as the saying goes. No, I mean it.
Was it your looks matter, your voice matters, you matter?
Your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter.
Thank you. Maybe I'm the one obsessed with looks, secretly deep down, which is why my brain went to that. Yes. And with that, have fun. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Hi. Thanks for having me.